I managed to get the new 2024 facelift Hilux with the 48 volt assistant power unit for half a day. First look of a new Hilux, first drive, on road and off road. And here we are with this blue Hilux off road already. I've owned a Hilux in the past. I had one for 2 years. It drives very similar to that, and it's actually brought back some memories from a lot of trips I did in that vehicle. The memories. If it wasn't for owning that Hilux for that duration of time, I don't think I would have noticed those subtle changes and additions they've done to the interior and the exterior. Although there's not much that's changed, there are some worthy changes on the interior at least. The main difference is the 48 volt motor, not a hybrid system. So what the heck is it and how does it work? And can we tap into the 48 volt battery for camping and forward driving accessories? Let's find out. Covered in this review, how the 48 volt system works. Does it drive any different? Does it affect off-roading? Can you tap into the 48 volt system? Interior changes and finally exterior changes. Feel free to skip to any point of interest and comment below your thoughts along the way. 2.8 litre turbo diesel, just like the other one. Everything is pretty much the same except for where the alternator used to be. That is where the 48 volt power generator is. Although many people refer to this as the hybrid Hilux, it's not really a hybrid because there's no electrical motor directly driving the wheels. This generator assists the vehicle in starting. It's like an advanced stop-start. Now, stop-start, I'm not a big fan of. There's always this delay, but this is a bit different. 39 seconds. So it senses when your foot's off the brake. By the time you react, you're driving off. So it's definitely different than the normal start-stop. So I don't hate it. I don't hate this function. And it'll start by using that generator rather than using a starter motor. It's belt-driven, tied in with the engine, and that's how it starts the vehicle without using the gear-driven starter motor. At the front here, we have the 48 volt generator, which assists the vehicle. In the middle of the vehicle, there is a DC-DC converter, which means it converts some of the 48 power from this lithium battery underneath the back seat, converts that into 12 volt, which then runs all the accessories inside the vehicle. This helps mitigate the use of fuel. If you have headlights and high beams and all that running while you're driving your vehicle at night, your alternator is working harder and you're using more fuel. It's like when you run your aircon, you're using more fuel to run the aircon. All these little bits and pieces are going to assist the vehicle in using less fuel. The other thing this assistant motor does, when you put your foot down, it gives it a boost. Now they say it's 10% power, and I'll talk about how it feels in the vehicle because I couldn't really feel it, but there was something I did notice. How it works on the road is interesting. It has a charge, eco and power. So if I put my foot down, the bar goes up into power. It's a bit like a hybrid car. You can kind of see how much power you're using and things like that. It's a similar thing with this. Gonna give it to it, the battery will jump in. You don't notice the extra power, but it takes a lag out, so it's more responsive. When you take off from a stop-start, it's more responsive. Yeah, it's just a bit more responsive. It's not like it's more power, it's just more responsive. When you take your foot off the accelerator, it charges. Doesn't matter if it's an incline, decline or flat surface, the vehicle will slow itself down a bit more than normal, and that's because it's sending charge to the 48 volt system. However, just maintaining a speed by having your foot just on the accelerator, it doesn't interfere with that, doesn't slow the vehicle down. It more senses when you're not touching the accelerator and you're decelerating, it'll decelerate slightly faster, but by doing that, it's putting charge into the battery, which will then assist you later. So it's not like you're losing power, you're going to gain that again later. To me, it seems like a lot of effort to go to just to save a bit of fuel. But the way the world is going at the moment with all the new emission standards, I think it's getting harder and harder to be able to keep driving diesels. That was on-road, but what about off-road? In high range 4x4, does it turn off and on? I had the vehicle for half a day, but I spent most of the time in low range. However, when I was in high range, I didn't notice it start-stop once. There are a number of things I learnt about this vehicle already with the stop-start system. It doesn't really affect the vehicle when you're off-roading, particularly in low range, and if the rear diff lock is on, it won't start-stop, it'll stay on, including when the bonnet's open. So if the bonnet is open, it senses and it won't stop the engine. And I'm guessing that's a safety feature, because if you put your hands in there and the fan's not running and then all of a sudden the battery's depleted, it needs to run again, well, I guess your fingers are gonna go, goodbye. Water crossings, what about that? We now have a power generator underneath the bonnet. It's in the same location as the alternator, and according to Toyota, you still have a weighting depth of 700 mils, which is approximately where the air intake is. One would suggest that, yes, this thing can tolerate water crossings, and all the other components are inside the cab. For example, the battery's under the seat, and the DC-DC converter is probably in the most vulnerable place, being at the lowest point of the floor. However, if you flood your vehicle, you're probably going to have bigger problems anyway. Apart from that, what is the drive like off-road? The Hilux in this facelift definitely has better traction than me. The 48 volt facelift now has multi-terrain select mode, similar to the 300 series, auto, sand, mud, rock. Personally, I'm not a fan of off-road software programs. I'd just use 4x4 if I need to activate the rear locker. That said, there's likely many people who will be happy to use the MTS system. I'm just not one of them. All the handling and suspension and all that stuff is still the same on this Hilux. I didn't notice any difference. It felt exactly like the one that I used to drive back in 2020. The 48 volt motor, didn't notice that either, off-road. So far, what's your take on the new 48 volt Hilux? Can we tap into this 48 volt system and use it for camping and four-wheel drive accessories? There is high potential. The DC-DC converter, that could be a possibility, but I'm sure it's going to tamper with the whole warranty of the whole system, so maybe let's wait for someone else to work that one out. But there is something that's been added to the Hilux because of this system. Added to the Hilux is this fuse box, and that controls the 48 volt system, but also runs the 12 volt current. So I believe you may be able to tap into this, but you've got to make sure you tap into the 12 volt, not the 48 volt, because then things could go a bit wrong, right? Now, the problem with having that fuse box there is you can't have your secondary battery inside the Hilux bonnet, which some people do. But I wouldn't recommend putting a second battery under the bonnet anyway. If you're going to have a house battery to power all your accessories, generally speaking, in the back is where you're going to have your fridge, camping lights and all those things. Much easier, much cleaner. The battery won't get too hot like it would if you put it there. The DC-DC converter is converting some of that 48 volt power into 12 volt, which then powers a lot of accessories inside the vehicle that are already there, right? You can still benefit indirectly from that whole system. Tap into the other end of it and maybe use that for UHF radio or something else. But there's definitely potential. I've put the seat down so you can have a look at the entire interior. This is an SR5 that don't come with leather seats. However, this one has the option of it. With the interior, not a whole lot's changed, but a couple of things have been added. For example, there's a charge point for your phone where you can just put it down and it charges magnetically. And then there's an actual specific phone holder right there. But that's not my preferred spot if I'm full driving, because it's blocking a couple of switches like the diff locker and the downhill assist, which brings us to the switches over here. There is the auto stop start. That is a new feature for this vehicle. You can actually turn that off. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a seat heater. Ah, it's a seat heater. In Australia, you probably don't need that. Parking assist, so you can turn that off when you're off-road. I highly recommend that. It will just beep at you when you're doing proper off-roading. There's another button added. This is to toggle the camera. 4 cameras, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 360-degree view, which will be great for construction sites, because how many utes have you seen on the road with a big dent in the tailgate? I do just want to compliment the Hilux on having this AC point in here. You don't essentially need an inverter because there is a 100 watts AC power down here. You can't plug in a vacuum cleaner or a hairdryer, but you can plug in things that you need to charge. With the exterior, they've done a complete chrome delete. The rear door handle, the rear bumper, the side step, the sports bar, even the door handles, the mirror, all the little trims on the front. The grille has also changed. I'm not sure, I think the bumper or something on the front has changed. It looks different. It looks, I know, slightly more Tacoma-ish, I feel. First look of a new Hilux, first drive in a nutshell. And thanks to Newtown Toyota for lending me the vehicle today. I apologise for bending the step. Hilux unbreakable, right? Should be right.